You ready to offend some people?
Many.
Excellent. Hey guys! Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to hit the red subscribe button down below and make sure that you keep up with all the craziness that is Spoonie and the Roomies. Today, I have my lovely hubby here, Sean, and today we are going to be doing the controversial parenting tag. So we have them all written down, and we're just gonna like jump right into it. Right into offending people. Okay.
Maybe each other.
I don't think so. I think that we're pretty well aligned with these. I think they're all conversations we've had. We have one child and another on the way. So, first off, pro-life, pro-choice.
Pro-choice.
Obviously, I'm the same. I just feel like every situation is different, every person is different, and like at the end of the day, I'd rather, especially now, I think, with one daughter and another on the way, you know, for them to have the ability, if they came home at 16, you know, and we're like, Mom, Dad, I'm pregnant, to be like, all right, what do you want to do? We're going to support you no matter what. We love you, and this is a very hard choice to make. And I think, you know, you have to make that decision for yourself, and you have to make it for the person that you're with, if you're with that person, and there's so much other stuff that goes into.
And then there's other scenarios that everybody talks about of how exactly the conception came to be, so.
Yeah, and the whole, you know, there's so many medical conditions that can cause problems and that kind of a thing as well. And so I very much think that it is a personal choice.
Absolutely.
So, question number 2, baby wearing. So like wearing them on you.
Oh, and the little vests?
Yeah. Like, I honestly don't understand why this is even like a controversial topic.
I don't either.
I guess I understand it from like if you're not putting your kid down, maybe they're not like meeting the milestones like they should. I don't know. Personally, like, I have every intentions of wearing this baby just to like be able to keep up with a toddler, but
I mean, my idea is you shouldn't have them in there for a very, very long time, because my experience, even from the fall protection training, is that if you fall in a harness and you have the through leg harness, a Navy SEAL can't last more than 7 minutes in one of those things without passing out. So you got to make sure that it's proper for the baby and supports their butt correctly and everything, and that it's not too tight in the crotch and groin area, so it's not cutting off any blood flow. But I don't see any problem with it other than that, especially the mothers that have those big swaddle things that like the baby can sit in on its back. So
that one looks easy. Question number 3, circumcision.
I say yes.
Yeah, for me personally, like the research that I did, everybody, I can see how this one is controversial because I do think that to a certain extent it can be viewed as, you know, mutilating a body, I guess. But from a parent standpoint, clean-wise and health-wise for your baby, I personally feel that it's better, unless you want to honestly pull back the skin and truly like clean your son
Every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time.
To keep from an infection. We are lucky enough that we have one little girl and another little girl on the way, so these aren't choices that we have to make. But it was a conversation that we had, and honestly, for me, I was like, I don't have one. That's all on you, dude. So.
I was circumcised, and, you know, even being circumcised, you can still get some kind of an infection in that
yeah.
area, and I can't imagine having it uncircumcised and having those kinds of complications today. That would be not fun at all.
All right, question number 4, adoption.
Would I adopt? What's the question?
Just like how we feel about adoption. I think personally, for myself, because this was a conversation that we had when we found out I was pregnant with Eliza. Personally, I don't think that I could emotionally handle growing a child inside of me for 9 months and literally being attached to that child that long and then giving them away and not having the ability to at least help make the decisions in that child's life. And yeah, well, and even with like open adoption, like most of those contracts are for a certain amount of time, and then it's up to the legal guardians of that child whether or not that continues. And I couldn't handle that either. I wouldn't. I personally could not do it. And so adoption honestly was never on the table for me with Eliza. I mean, to be honest, like, Eliza was mine. It was just a matter of whether or not she was yours too. But as far as us adopting, it's actually something we've talked about. It's something that both of us want to do. He grew up with adopted kids in the house, on and off, like foster kids.
And then one that we adopted unofficially into our home.
Yeah. And I think it's great if you can provide, a stable environment for a child that otherwise wouldn't have it. Why wouldn't you? So.
Yeah, and I think it definitely helped out my life as far as, like, growing up around, like, lots of people, lots of different kind of people. And, I don't know, it created an open-mindedness that whenever I came upon controversial topics like racism and things like that I didn't understand them at all because I never had that dynamic ever and implemented in my family. So,
all right, question 5: baby piercing.
Personally, I think it's wrong. It kind of goes along the lines of, you know what's funny? So, I say it like that.
You're all for circumcision, but you're not for
you're all
piercing
for,
your baby.
Well, no. That's the thing. I was going to say the people that are all for letting the baby decide with the circumcision usually are the ones that still get their ears pierced and stuff. I'm like, oh, but they weren't for that decision? Like, all right, what are we doing with these decisions now?
But we're kind of the opposite. Well, you are, I guess.
Like, honestly, I'm live and let live. I'm not going to go up to somebody and tell them, oh my gosh, you pierced your baby's ears, what's wrong with you?
Right.
In the home, I guess you can be a little judgmental about the fact of, like, you dressing up your baby and stuff and putting ear piercings into their ears and then putting them in pageants before they can even speak and things like that. I think that's a little extreme.
That's going a little far, just to say that just because I pierced my baby's ears doesn't mean...
Yeah, like, I don't know.
That I'm going to put her in pageants.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that's not what I'm saying. I'm just meaning for everybody, but I think the extreme factor and where I would become, like, a little against it would be when you started doing that kind of stuff, is whenever it was taken to that level. But
yeah.
I mean, same thing against, like, I'm pretty keep to myself kind of a person. I don't voice my opinion.
Yeah.
If I saw, like, an old lady getting beat up in the street, obviously I would voice my opinion, but...
Right. I think that it really depends. Like, we may not agree with something, but we're not going to say anything because we wouldn't want people to say something to us.
Yeah, especially when it's not harming them in any way.
And having had people comment on things that we just, like, roll our eyes because we're like, whatever, we're the parents, we make the decisions.
Yeah.
I personally, I think if you're going to do it, I think you should do it very early when they're, before they're like 6 months old. Honestly, before that, but just because, like, it's kind of like the whole circumcision thing where if you're gonna do it while they're little so they don't remember it, because it can be a traumatic experience. We didn't with Eliza just because he has his feelings, and I'm not all for it or all against it. I have skin allergies, so I react to like 90% of earrings anyway, so my ears are pierced, but I very rarely, almost never wear earrings.
And honestly, if she really wanted to.
She has been asking recently to get hers done, though. I don't want to do it right now because she's not old enough to really understand the responsibility of keeping her ears and the earrings clean. But it's probably something we'll do in the future, because worst case scenario, she doesn't like them, we'll take them out and they'll go close.
Yeah,
but
if
yeah,
she's anything like you, we'll have to buy them in bulk.
So number 6 is a breastfed baby versus a formula-fed baby. For starters, a fed baby is best. We're just gonna lay that on the table right now. I am not shaming anybody. I tried both. Between Eliza not latching properly, me not knowing what I was doing, her losing weight, and then we had to supplement, and then it was making her sick and all the stress. We ended up formula feeding her, and I mean,
she turned out fine.
She's perfect.
She's great. Yeah, she's wonderful.
A little on the heavy side, but that's genetics.
I think both of our stances are like, that's another decision that's up to the parent and the circumstance. If you can breastfeed and you can get that, that's amazing. Like,
that's amazing, and that's great for you, and do it. But if you can't, you shouldn't feel like you are any less of a mother.
Absolutely.
Because for whatever reason, whether you didn't want to, which is fine, or your baby didn't latch properly, or the other thing is a lot of kids that don't latch properly they call it a lip tie or a tongue tie, and it's usually not like, they're not always like super strong, so they can't always tell. I was reading about it the other day.
Okay.
I don't know. Alright, number 7, cry it out method.
What's the cry it out method?
When I would put her to bed and walk away and let her cry.
Hey, yeah, I like that method.
That was what we did with Eliza, because it got to the point where, like, she would just cry and cry and cry because she knew if she cried long enough that one of us would go in there. And I think we got just, like, so exhausted that we were both just like...
You mean when she was a baby and stuff?
Yeah, when she was teeny tiny.
Yeah, and we did get to the point, and she eventually stopped.
Yeah.
She broke free of it, but... And it's not like we just leave her in there for hours or something. If she cried for
more than like 15, 20 minutes, we would go in there.
Absolutely, just to make sure
that nothing was wrong.
But 9 times out of 10, 9 minutes later, boom, gone.
And honestly, as a parent, as they get older, you start to learn their cries and what their cries mean. So, like, you can just tell if they're crying because they're tired, or if something's wrong.
Or if they're just upset.
I do think that every baby is different, though, and so it will be interesting to see if that's something that we can do with this baby, or if she is completely different. Number 8, spanking.
Spank him.
Alright, beat the baby.
Yeah.
Not really.
I think it's,
I think it depends on the quote-unquote crime.
Yeah, and
the type of kid. Because for some kids, it just doesn't work. And in some scenarios, it just doesn't work.
And sometimes it changes after they get older.
Exactly. For Eliza, for the longest time, all we had to do was tell her that we were going to spank her butt, and she would stop doing whatever it was. Then she started calling our bluff, so we started spanking. I grew up in a household where I was spanked. And, like, it didn't scar me. Don't get me wrong, there are households where kids grow up where they're not spanked, though those kids are hit. And I think that there is a huge difference. And honestly and truly, one of the biggest things that has changed for me personally and for Eliza is that she knows why. Like, I can spank her, send her to her room, and 10-15 minutes later go in there and have a conversation with her about what happened, why, you know, and she can tell me, I got spanked because of this.
I think there's a lot of variables too in it. There's a lot of different scenarios and things to do, ages and how to spank. It all changes as you get older.
Yeah.
The one thing I think that a lot of people do wrong is the fact that they spank them right exactly whenever the thing happens on the butt, like it's out of anger, not out of trying to get them to listen, stop,
right,
learn a lesson in some way. And that is the one thing I think, if you are angry, you need to take a step back. Take a breather.
You should never strike your child while you're angry.
No, it's you're asking for trouble. No one.
Yeah. Question number 9 is, how do we feel about co-sleeping?
Them sleeping with us?
Yeah. So, every kid is different. Every family is different. For Eliza, when Eliza was an infant, Sean was out of town generally Monday through Saturday. And so Eliza did sleep in her crib during the night, but nap times during the day or like early in the morning, I would move her into our bed, and then she would usually fall back asleep with me. Or I would go get a bottle and feed her, and then we would go back to sleep. For me personally, I feel like my maternal instinct is too strong. Like, I can understand how you could be a heavy sleeper and how you could roll over on your baby. But she did sleep with us occasionally, and usually when she was in the bed with us, because Sean is such a heavy sleeper, I would put her on the opposite side of him just in case. Okay. Question number 10 is schooling. So like homeschool versus public school versus private school versus charter school.
Okay. So, honestly, I think this is another thing that has a lot of variables in it, like your demographic, where you're at.
Right. I think where we live right now, in the area that we live right now, most of the public schools around us are very good.
Yeah, I think I like
both
all of them.
Teacher-wise and class size-wise. So I don't have a problem with her going to public school. Also, honestly, in our budget, private school is not in our budget.
Yeah, and like public schooling really wouldn't even be in our budget, because then that would mean taking out another income and stuff, and the homeschooling.
Yeah.
I actually went to a charter school, but it was paid for by the state, and I mean, it was a cool experience, and I think it was perfect for me, and I only went for 2 years, so.
I personally don't like the idea of homeschooling, or honestly really charter schooling, just because I feel like you take a lot of the social aspect out of it, and I think that learning how to communicate and deal with people is a big part of development. Number 11, vaccines.
Yes.
Do them, get them done, plain and simple. Number 12 is medicating children. And I don't, as far as like, I think it's more of like an ADHD thing. But
for that question, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. As far as, so as somebody that was medicated with ADHD medicine for a very short period of time, my mother, like almost immediately after about, I don't know how long it was, a month's time, seeing how I was acting, I wasn't even myself. I was a zombie, pretty much. And I personally don't think it's a good idea until I would say, wait until they're like preteen to teenager, like, sorry, not preteen, like 12 and up, before you start making those kinds of decisions. until your kid can give you valuable feedback. And then also, like, it should not change, those medications should not change the amount of their behavior to the point. If you're just looking for your kid to calm down, you just need to take your kid out and work them out more. You need to get them into something and do something in that manner, because that's
figure
an
out
energy.
something for
but
your
if
child.
you want to literally help them focus, that's a completely different dosage level.
The only thing that I really have to add to it is I think that personally, if we were ever in a position where we felt that we needed to medicate one of the girls, I would only want to do it so that the dosage worked like a half hour before school started, enough to give it to them, and it had time to kick in by the time they got to school, but was pretty much worn off by the time they got home from school. So, I mean, I think that as long as you're doing it for the right reasons. So far, that's one of the only topics that we really disagree on. But we don't even really disagree, so. Alright, number 13, cloth diapers versus disposable diapers.
Disposable diapers.
All the way. And then our last question is store-bought versus homemade food for babies.
I think that's whatever you're willing to do, but I think it's a lot harder to create the food and make all that nutrients, because you got to think of the amount. It's like taking a multivitamin. It's like the amount of food and things you'd have to eat to equal like what is inside of a multivitamin versus...
I agree and I disagree with you. I think as far as baby food is concerned, because it's all like pureed, I think in a way I'd much rather know what goes into it, just because I do feel like there's a lot of preservatives in it. But at the same point in time, like, convenience...
So you trust the companies for adults but not babies?
Yeah, because my body's been exposed to those preservatives and extra sugars and salts and all that, whereas an infant, not necessarily. I don't know. I tried it with Eliza. She didn't seem to like it. But Eliza didn't really eat baby food for very long.
No, she didn't eat baby food, and if she did, she ate the peaches or the banana one, and she's
and the peaches
always
smelled gross.
like horrible. They smelled like feet for miles, and it's not my thing.
At the end of the day, the reason I think that these topics are so controversial is because we now live in a society where everybody feels the need to share their opinion, but they also feel the need to argue with people and tell other people why their opinions are wrong.
I think that they all love to climb up the hill their way, and they say their way is the fastest. And
exactly.
it's just like a contest over that. But
yeah. So that is that. And that is our take on the controversial parenting tag. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.
See ya.